I once had 2 job interviews in North Carolina while living in New York. I decided to take a long drive instead of flying to save money, as my current job was less than satisfying, and these interviews offered a new beginning with corporate office positions and attractive benefits. Moreover, the prospect of better weather in North Carolina was enticing. I embarked on the journey on a Thursday night, having taken Friday off for the interviews. With a quick stop at home to gather my belongings and bid my family farewell, I began the arduous 8+ hour drive, with an estimated arrival time well into the early hours of the morning, around 2 a.m. To stay awake, I consumed 3 cups of coffee during the initial hours of my drive. However, fatigue caught up with me despite the caffeine, especially since I hadn't slept well the night before due to interview-related stress. The thought of driving nearly 9 hours after a full workday was daunting. As the night grew late and the road empty, I struggled to stay awake. It was during this drowsy stretch that something inexplicable occurred. On the side of the highway, I spotted a man in a suit. He wasn't walking or moving, he just stood there, facing my car, and his gaze seemed to follow me as I passed. Bewildered, I muttered aloud in disbelief, wondering why someone would be standing in the middle of the highway in a suit at 12:30 a.m. To distract myself from the bizarre encounter, I concocted various explanations, like the possibility of a dispute with his girlfriend that had led to him being stranded. However, my eerie journey took a terrifying turn when, just 10 minutes later, I encountered another man, also dressed in a suit, standing by the roadside. This second sighting left me deeply unsettled. I decided to pull over and offer assistance or a ride, even though I wasn't sure what I was thinking. As I neared the shoulder, nearly coming to a stop, I glanced in the rearview mirror and then turned around completely, only to find that the man had vanished, as if he had simply disappeared into thin air. Panic coursed through me, and I immediately stepped on the gas and resumed driving. I desperately needed another cup of coffee, and I still had about an hour and a half of driving ahead of me. I pulled into the first pit stop I came across and purchased a medium coffee. However, as I sat in the parking lot of the rest area gas station, I spotted the same man in a suit again, standing beneath a light post. This time, I got a clearer view of his face, a middle-aged white man with short dark brown hair and a clean-shaven face, wearing a neutral expression. What unsettled me most was the way he once again faced my car. Fear gnawed at me, and I decided to leave immediately, even though the coffee had barely taken effect. I was determined to complete the drive, but fatigue was overwhelming me. I felt myself drifting dangerously close to falling asleep behind the wheel. Realizing I couldn't continue, I exited the highway and parked in an isolated parking lot. I reclined the car seat as far as it would go and attempted to get some rest, despite the unease I felt in the deserted lot. I couldn't shake the fear that, if I opened my eyes, would see the man in the suit again. As I started to drift into sleep, something jolted me awake. I opened my eyes and peered around the outside of the car, inspecting each window. Everything appeared normal until I glanced in the rearview mirror. For a fleeting moment, I saw a person in the back seat, a man in a suit. Terrified, I flung the car door open, screamed, and tumbled out, crawling backward while continuing to scream. It took a moment for me to regain my composure and realize that there was no one in the back seat, it was empty. My exhaustion had played tricks on my mind all night. Shaken but determined, I got back into the car with my heart racing. Strangely, I was now too alert to fall asleep. I restarted the car, finished my coffee, and powered through the remainder of the drive. Upon checking into the hotel and collapsing onto the bed, I finally succumbed to sleep. The following day, my first interview was scheduled for 11 a.m., and I hadn't slept much. However, my exhaustion was overshadowed by an unsettling experience. When my interviewer emerged to greet me, I froze in place. The interviewer bore an uncanny resemblance to the man in the suit I had hallucinated the night before. Though I tried to recover, the encounter threw me off, and I stumbled through the interview, feeling as though I were trapped in a dream. Leaving the interview with only an hour to prepare for the next one, I was fortunate to do better in the second interview, which led to me securing the job. I now live and work in North Carolina. Looking back, my therapist explained that the stress of preparing for the interviews, coupled with my lack of sleep, likely triggered the hallucinations. It was the fear and stress that conjured the image of the man in the suit, which made for a truly terrifying ordeal. One night, I was driving through Clearfield County, Pennsylvania, eager to avoid the traffic on my way home. It was well past midnight, and the road was deserted, just the way I liked it. I had my favorite podcast playing on the radio when my car's fuel warning dinged, indicating I was low on gas. I quickly input the nearest gas station into my Maps app, which was a bit further up the desolate road. After about 5 minutes, I pulled into the only parking lot for miles, a generic, no-name gas station. As I parked at the pump, I noticed a man filling up his old pickup truck. He gave me an odd look as I walked past him into the shop. I purchased a coffee and paid for my gas in cash. When I returned outside, I saw the man getting into his truck and driving away. A few minutes later, while filling up my tank, another alert chimed from my car. My dashboard showed that one of my tires was dangerously low, and I began to hear a wobbling sound. I rolled down a window and realized I had a flat tire, the rear driver's side one. It seemed odd because I couldn't recall hitting anything. Suspicion crept in. What if that guy at the gas station had something to do with it? I reached for my phone, intending to call my roadside assistance company, but as I was searching for the number on Google, I heard the distant hum of an engine down the dark road behind me. Strangely, I couldn't see any headlights, it was pitch black. Suddenly, the engine sound ceased, plunging the area into silence. I decided to fetch my SOS flashlight from my toolbox in the trunk, a gift from my dad. Holding the long flashlight rod, I turned it on and aimed it down the road. There, about 200 feet away, I spotted the reflection of a truck's headlights. It looked like the same pickup truck from the gas station. I gasped and quickly retreated into the woods, hiding behind a large bush and tree. With trembling hands, I dialed 911 on my phone, whispering my location and explaining that someone had slashed my tire, and I suspected the person was following me. The dispatcher asked me several questions, including descriptions of the man and his truck. Just as I was about to report that the man had exited his truck, the call abruptly disconnected due to poor cell reception. I waited anxiously, hoping the dispatcher would call me back. I was sure she was trying, but the signal wouldn't cooperate. Then, I heard the sound of another vehicle approaching on the road. It slowed down, and I could hear people talking. It was another man's voice. Cautiously, I inched closer to the edge of the woods, trying to get a view of the road. I saw the man from the pickup truck conversing with the occupant of another truck stopped in the middle of the road. I overheard the suspicious man concocting a fake story about the situation. In that moment, I couldn't wait any longer. I rushed into the road, yelling for help and stating that I didn't know the man. Both the man in the other truck and the one who had followed me turned their attention to me. I told the people in the truck that this stranger had tampered with my tire and followed me. The man in the other truck seemed alarmed by my statement, while the creepy man denied any involvement, claiming he had never seen me before. He quickly retreated to his pickup truck, backed up to clear both of our vehicles, and sped away. The other man, however, approached to examine my flat tire and kindly offered me a ride into town. I informed him that the police were on their way, and within a few minutes, a patrol car with flashing lights pulled up beside us. The helpful man vouched for my story when I recounted the events to the police officer. The officer said he would check the gas station surveillance footage to investigate further. Eventually, the tow truck arrived and gave me a ride to a nearby shop, where my dad picked me up. Strangely, I never heard back from the police officer, which made me wonder if the gas station's cameras hadn't captured any incriminating evidence. It was a chilling reminder of how close I had come to a potentially dangerous situation that night.